If you want to live a more empowered life, start setting better intentions around the areas of your life that matter most to you. Because intentions are like more powerful goals. While goals are simple, measurable, actionable, result oriented, time bound, and I add effective and remembered, intentions are not only wrapped in your actions, but they're also wrapped in your thoughts and your feelings, and they produce an energy behind them that set the tone for how you want your life to be. While goals focus on the human doing, intentions focus on the human being, because it's through our intentions that we discover who we truly are. It's through our intentions that we begin to take the steering wheel of our life and drive it in the direction that we want it to go, instead of falling to the whims of how someone else wants our life to go. When I was 25 years old, I would wake up every day and I would ask God, how can I make today better than yesterday? I was obsessed with purpose and intention. I wanted a family badly at the time, and instead of operating with intention, I was focused on the goal, and I missed the feeling, the thoughts, and the actions that needed to accompany all at once, themselves all at once, in order for me to produce that impact in my life. Over time, as I began to learn myself, my intentions shifted, and I began to discover more about who I truly am. That's where the empowerment started. Our intentions can be very powerful magnets to attract things into our lives that are meant to help us manifest the realities that we want to see, but they also can be powerful magnets for distractions. And I believe those distractions are there to test how serious we are about our intentions. Some of the distractions may mask themselves in the form of a loved one. Some of the distractions may mask themselves in the form of an enemy or a perceived enemy. I'm sure many of us can think of a situation where a loved one didn't want us to get into that relationship, or to take that job, or to take that step in a direction, because they had a fear that we wouldn't do well, because their intentions were rooted in their fear that our intention would disrupt their life. It wasn't rooted in the fact that they wanted to support us in our intention, and while they meant well, following and living our life through their intention could ultimately cause dissonance within ourselves, disappointment within ourselves, because when you do that, you aren't living life authentically. Intention is about setting an authentic direction for your life, regardless of what anyone else thinks. And that can be scary, because when you start to move in that manner, you'll realize people start to fall off. You'll realize the relationships that you thought were so tight aren't as tightly wound and bound. They're actually pretty loose. Those people will start to remove themselves from you out of many reasons. But that's okay, because when you move through life with your intention and you notice people start to remove themselves from your life, your intentions are actually creating the reality that you want. Your intentions are actually helping to create space so that you can then begin to welcome in what is meant for you. But it's that space, it's that time that we're fearful of, because it can be a little bit lonely. I'm sure that some of you may have encountered a situation where you had an intention, but you were afraid to take action because you then became responsible for the outcome. And we don't want to be accountable for the outcome. That's scary. I'm sure you can remember or recall a situation where you set an intention. You wanted to speak to this person with love. You wanted to love your way through it. You wanted to donate to a cause and pay your way through it. You thought that spending more time, giving more money, giving more of your care to someone or something would help create the result or the impact that you wanted. But on the other side, that person received it through the lens of their insecurity or their trauma, and they weren't able to receive your intention with the energy that you meant it. And so it manifested or came back to you as a potential failure. And it's those failures that can be scary for us to face. But whether it's distractions from other people's intentions, or whether it's your fear of facing your accountability for the results that you're now accountable for, overcoming those things are worth it, because in the end, you begin to take control of your life. You begin to empower yourself if that's what you say you want. There are always two sides to every coin. I remember when I used to pray for wisdom, and I didn't recognize until I started to go through a lot of stuff that on the other side of wisdom is experience. And sometimes those experiences are good, and sometimes those experiences are challenging. They are rough, but you will get wisdom from it. On the other side of power is vulnerability. Because in that vulnerability, in that setting of intention, you are living authentically in who you are. You are operating in a truly authentic manner. And that's where the power comes. That's where you get the traction. So how do we shift ourselves from operating at a lower energy or a lower vibration through our subconscious and allowing others to steer our lives, to moving to our conscious mind and operating with intention? Because that's what you're doing. You're actually shifting your being to operate with your conscious mind in every area of your life. One of the first things I would offer is to ask yourself powerful questions. Like I mentioned, I would ask God, how can I make today better than yesterday? If you want to set an intention for your spiritual life, ask yourself, what connection do I want with God? It's not enough to say that you're spiritual, but have no action or feeling or thoughts in alignment with that. What connection do you want out of your spirituality, out of your dream? What are you doing? What are you thinking? How are you acting? How are you being as it relates to your spirituality? What is your intention? What are your intentions around the emotions that you want to set for the day? You have more power over how you want to feel than you think. Your feelings aren't at the whim of your external environment. Your feelings can be controlled based on the intention that you set for them. And I'm not naive enough to think that some instances don't catch us off guard and cause us to move into lower frequencies of fear. But what I am saying is, when you set an intention for how you want to feel and move through a day, if you want to move with love or confidence, you have the ability to set that for yourself if that's the energy that you want to remain in. And when you notice yourself moving to the negative energy, move yourself back. There was a situation that occurred that got me pissed one day. But by the grace of God, I remember the intention that I set for myself to move with the frequency of love, and it truly allowed me to have empathy in that situation and to realize that there are two sides to the coin and that I'm not always right. And that although I feel justified in how I feel and how I think and how I'm acting in this situation, I need to figure out a way to move back to love. And in that instance, it was forgiveness. If We're setting intentions around how we want to think, our intellect. What do you need to be feeding your mind in order to produce the reality that you want? It's so easy to fall into negativity. It's so easy to scroll and look at the life of someone else who's had their life blown up because they're a star and they're famous. And so we chomp at the bit and we dive into that negativity, and we're feeding our mind that image of negative relationships, of negative governments. But you have choice over what you choose to feed your mind. And it's when you exercise that choice to feed your mind things that are positive that you'll start to see your reality to produce more positive things. You'll start to shift your reality to not even be associated with certain things. But it's easier to feed our minds negativity. And so because it's easier to feed our minds negativity, that's what our algorithms, that's what life is going to continue feeding us, because that's what we're looking for. We're looking for negativity because somehow that makes us feel better about our lives. Do the hard thing and set a better intention about what you choose to feed your mind. When setting intentions around our physical body, it is very easy to fall into the trap of leaning into negative intentions because we're conditioned from a young age not to care about our physical bodies. We feed ourselves anything. We drink anything. We vilify people who choose to go to the gym and exercise frequently, calling them gym rats, because it's easier for us to do that. It's much harder to set an intention by asking ourselves, what do I want my body to help me accomplish in this life? What do you want from your body? It's easier for us to engage in sexual promiscuity and to treat our bodies with harm and to introduce all kinds of drugs and harmful things into our bodies because it's a lower frequency. And I don't speak from a place of judgment because we've all been there. I've been there where I did not respect my body, and so I treated my body in a way that was not becoming of who I am. And so moving from what we've been conditioned to do, which is to clown and make fun of people who choose to be on a health journey, or to clown and make fun of people who choose abstinence or things like that to maintain the purity of their bodies. We've been conditioned to do that because it's normal to just give your body to whomever. It's normal to just drink yourself into a stupor. It's normal to have all kinds of drugs coursing through your body and through your veins. It's normal to eat things that are poisonous to your body. It's much harder to ask yourself, what do I want my body to help me to achieve, and how am I treating my body? When setting intentions around our environment, I love this one because the environment we choose will determine how much we can grow. You can't grow a rose in the desert because the environment is not conducive for the rose to grow. You can't grow yourself into the being that you're meant to become if you constantly place yourself in environments that are not conducive to who you're becoming. Choosing your environment starts with your home. Look around yourself. If you choose to live in a home that is filled with disarray, that is a reflection of the environment that you allow yourself to sit in. When you choose to go in environments where people are fighting and throwing drinks and doing all kinds of things, and you continue to do and engage in that behavior, or with those people rather, that is the environment that you're telling yourself you're meant to grow in. And so in order to grow beyond those environments, we have to be very, very selfish in saying, what environment would be best for me to grow in? Because when you sit with that question, some beautiful things happen in yourself. You begin to challenge your way of thinking and being and doing. You begin to challenge the decisions that you make when it comes to your environment. And that gets you closer to who you're becoming. When setting intentions around the relationships that we choose to have, this is critical because everything is accomplished through relationship. It takes so much longer to build anything than it does to destroy it. And if everything is accomplished through relationship, taking time to build strong relationships should be at the core of the intentions that we choose to set for ourselves, because it's what's going to get us the furthest. It's what's going to get us the results that we want in our lives, establishing the right relationships that help us to become who we're supposed to become. What relationships are healthy for you? At the end of the day, I believe that we all want healthy, functioning relationships. And it's hard to really sit and examine the relationships that are in our lives today, because if we did that, we would realize that some of them aren't healthy relationships. They aren't conducive to us becoming who we're supposed to become. And when we set an intention around our relationships and the healthy types of relationships that we want, we'll start to see people fall off. But it's okay, because again, in seeing people fall off, we create space for the people who are meant to come into our lives. If your intention is that you want healthy relationships in your life, regardless of whether or not it's romantic, a friendship, a family member, you'll begin to move differently with people who are unhealthy for you. You'll begin to set boundaries that you didn't know you could set, and you'll do it with love. You'll do it with forgiveness, because it's not about them. Now it's about you. It's about the intention that you have for your life. Take the power back from other people. Don't make your decision about staying in relationship with them about them. Make it about you and the intentions that you have for your life, and you will feel at peace about your decision. Might be a little rough at first, but inevitably the peace will set in, and you'll begin to create the reality that you want around your relationships because you've set the appropriate intention. When setting intentions around the careers that we choose, there's so much power that we get to exercise more than we know. A friend of mine who is an entrepreneur and constantly talks about the fears of working for someone else asked, well, what do you do if you get fired? I said, go find another job. If that's the energy that you want to move in, if that's what you choose to do, because the fact of the matter is, it's all a rat race. You just have to choose which race you're running and how well you're going to run it. Whether you choose to work for somebody else or whether you choose to run your own business, you have power. As long as you set intention around what you want to get out of it and begin with the end in mind, you have power. Every business, every career has an exit strategy. Some people would call that retirement. Just because you have a business does not mean that you should not have an intention around how you want to exit that business. It does not mean that you should not have an intention around how you want that business to serve you beyond providing you with income. How does it serve your intentions around your life? And so one of the key questions to ask when setting intentions is, how does this career serve me? What do I want to accomplish in this career? What do I want to get out of it? What do I want to pour into it? And at the point that career or that business no longer aligns with your intentions, that's where you have the power to exercise new intentions and to move on to something that serves you. When setting intentions around our finances, it's more than just making more money. It's more than retirement. It's the full spectrum of how we want our finances to serve us. What relationship do we want to have to our finances? That's the beginning of you setting intentions around your finances. What relationship do you want to have with your finances? Do you want to have a relationship where you understand how you're spending, what your income is, what your taxes are, how that looks? Or do you want to have a hands-off relationship with your finances? There's no right or wrong. All have different implications. It's really just about the intentions that you have for your finances. Do you want your money to grow to $1 million, $2 million, $5 billion? What are your intentions around your finances? Do you want to completely eliminate as much as possible your expenses from your life? What are your intentions around your finances or your savings? What do you need to have saved in order to feel safe and secure? What do you need to make in order to feel safe and secure? What do you need to have as mandatory expenses in order to feel safe and secure? Those are questions to ask yourself around your finances, because when you set those types of intentions, you take the power back from your finances. You tell your finances that I'm in control of you, you aren't in control of me. Intentions, setting intentions in these areas of our lives is empowering. But with that power, again, comes vulnerability. You have to be vulnerable to set intentions, because you're being honest with yourself about who you are. When you set an intention, it's tapping into the core of your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions, and you begin to understand the why behind everything you do and everything you are. And it's in facing that why that you begin to discover what you're capable of, what your purpose is. A guy by the name of Simon Sinek wrote a book solely focused on this, starting with why. Because from your why, everything else flows. You began to have a deeper sense of empowerment. You began to set your intentions. You began to move through life in a very deliberate way. And it's that deliberate action, that deliberate thought, that deliberate feeling in your being that produces the empowerment that you seek.